Hello, beautiful people. Welcome back or welcome to another Bangs audio review. Apologies in advance. I'm not going to timestamp this one because I feel like I'm just going to jump around a lot because I've got some things to say about not just this set, but kind of the hobby in general and reviewers and what they do and what they don't do sometimes. So this is going to be a little bit scattered. So I just want to apologize immediately out of the gate for that. I'll try to keep it on point as much as possible. And if I can figure out a logical timestamp situation, I will. But no promises. Today, we're going to talk about the EarAcousticAudio STA High-End Max. That's right here in the box. STA High-End Max. There we go. Which is a single 10mm diamond-like carbon dynamic driver paired with a 6mm like polymer something dynamic driver. So that's your setup. You know, you'll see it as a 10.6, you'll see it as a 10.7.8 or a 10.58. You see a lot of double dynamics coming out these days. And, you know, some of them are good and some of them, just okay. But it's hard for me to put into words how I feel about this set, which is why I'm going to kind of be all over the place, I guess. First, though, I do want to thank EarAcousticAudio for sending me this set for review. I was not requested or told to say anything about it. They reached out and I said, they were like, well, what do you want to review? And I'm like, I'd like you guys to send me what you feel best represents your brand, and both price and quality. And this is what they sent me. This is their, sort of their, they call it flagship. I know flagship usually means like the top end, but I think this is their driver, right? Pun intended. The set that they feel like has probably the broadest appeal. It's $90, still $90 by the way, and sort of represents what their philosophy is in both design and tuning, etc. So interesting box. I'm going to do the box and specs real quick so we can get into the meat and potatoes of this. The box is different. It's square instead of a rectangle. So here we go. Little nice leather cable management there. And then underneath, you get the earphones, you get accessories and more accessories, and then the case is in the bottom, if you can see that. So yeah, I mean, okay. It's an unboxing, It's a cool box, I'll give them that. I don't think I didn't use the ear tips. I think they're still in here. Yeah, ear tips, standard silicone, nothing special. Didn't work for my ears because those usually don't. The conical shaped ones usually have trouble getting a good seal on, so didn't use them. But anyway, it's a cool package. It says Silver Angel on it. You probably can't see that because of the glare or the darkness or both. But yeah, that's their sort of branding is the Silver Angel, which you'll see if you go to their website, which I will link in the description, along with two links for purchase, one from AliExpress, one from Amazon North America. Currently, they have not, like I said, they're still $90. They have not seen any tariff attachment, extra charges at this point. I think maybe because there's already stock stateside of these, and they probably won't raise it until they have to, I'm hoping. So for now, we're at $90, which is good. It's a good price point. I always appreciate a value. The Tech Lounge, or Tech Lair, whatever you want to call it, I mean, it's a freaking disaster right now, guys. Seriously. I have to do something about this. It's gotten ridiculous. So I'm going to I'll show that off maybe in the next video because I got to do some organization here. It's kind of silly. On your specs, you've got frequency range of 10 hertz to 30 kilohertz. Sensitivity on these is 110 decibels and an impedance of 30 ohms. They're pretty sensitive. Not hugely sensitive, not like the Hibby or what was the other one that I did recently that was like the Osla Horizon 2, like so freaking sensitive, it was crazy. But yeah, I would call these above average sensitivity, so they're not going to take a ton to drive. I like the case. You know, the zipper is a little bit stiff, but it's certainly protective and really well made. And there's plenty of room in there. I have a Heidi's cable on them because I wanted to use 4.4. I felt like it made a difference for what it's worth. That little extra bit of juice seemed to, can I say it, just open them up a little bit, maybe, you know? Crisp them up a little bit, perhaps. But the standard cable, the stock cable, the included cable, is nice. It's kind of like the black version of that silver cable that I really like a lot. I found in a bunch of sets. So it's got a nice weight to it. It's not tangly. It's flush 2-pin connection, 0.78. Chin slider stays put. I love that. It's easy to move, but it doesn't move when you don't want it to. So, and the aesthetic is nice of it on it as well. Goes with the earphones very well. Yeah, and here's the Heidi's, and here are the earphones. Quickly on the build, fit, comfort, you know, they are comfortable. They're not overly large. I feel like I didn't have any issues with, you know, a physical fatigue from them at all. Medium size shell, nozzle is a little bit big, but not terribly so. Probably about 5 millimeters is my guess. You shouldn't have fit issues unless your ears are super tiny. Sorry, buddy, if they are. If you're watching this, I know you have trouble with that. These could be borderline for you. But they might work. And hopefully they will work, because I think I'm going to send them to you. Anyway, well, we'll get to it. Actually, I haven't decided who I'm going to send them to yet, but cat out of the bag. I'm going to give these away. And it's not because I don't like them, because honestly, I like them quite a bit. It's just that now it's got me wondering if I'm crazy, you know, because the reviews on these are spotty. And, you know, this is what I want to get into before I get into the graph and the sound. What I saw, which is my mistake, because I usually try not to do this. What I saw from BGGAR, HBB, the original Chris, was a dumpster fire rating for like 2 or 3 sets, I think, that they had sent him for review. And from what I can tell, and I'm not 100% sure on this, so, you know, it's kind of an accusation, but it's kind of like a maybe he did, maybe he didn't. I don't feel like he listened to him very much, if at all, honestly. I think he looked at the graph and he was like, what is this? And then proceeded to just kind of judge them based on that. And I don't think that that is normal for him. I think that he usually does like take some time with sets, but he even almost kind of admitted it in the video that he didn't listen to them much. I don't know which set he listened to. I don't know, because he didn't specify. He was just kind of like, well, I listened to one of them and I listened to a couple of tracks. I just, you know, I have a problem with that, because if a company, especially a company who's trying to get a foothold in the United States, especially right now, sends you their product, I'm not saying you have to say nice things about it, but I think that you need to give them a fair shake. And I just don't feel like that was done in that case. I feel like it was kind of, they were just lumped into he called it like old-fashioned tuning or an out-of-date tuning, right? Yeah, and okay, so fine. If you look at the graph here, you could definitely argue that. You know, you could say, wow, steep ear gain, peaky treble, you know, not a lot of sub bass, so definitely not like a meta tuning. Bump in the mid bass, deep V, you know, like Natalie 007. You get lost in that V, you're never getting out. Anyway, this is like, if I just looked at this graph, and we did, I posted it in the community section. If I just looked at this graph, it might have been a pass for me. You know, it might have been like, okay, like I can handle some trouble. Believe me, especially I guess at my age, I can handle trouble a little bit more. than somebody that's like 20 or 30 years younger than me. I don't know. I still feel like I have pretty decent hearing up in that range. I know it has limitations, um, but I looked at this and, I've seen graphs that have been similar in the Tiandra TD20 and the TRN Medusa, and those sets were like piercingly bright and not appealing, and I did not enjoy them, and I don't listen to them. But this is just a graph, and how it actually presents is going to have a lot to do with the driver selection, driver quality, and then the tuning. Okay, and you can hate on that tuning all you want, and I'm not going to say that you're wrong, because the graph looks like it's kind of like gnarly, but the thing is, once you put them in your ears, it's different. So it doesn't present as a peaky, sharp, super fatiguing kind of treble. What it does present as is a very, like, it digs details out like nobody's business. It does present in a way that I didn't find to be really super fatiguing. Like over a period of time, like if I listen to the which I did, I listened to the deluxe edition of Shrine by Bleed From Within. Its intensity, tons of cymbals, lots of just very aggressive, everything. But I found myself at the end of that album going, yeah, okay, maybe 2 or 3 songs from the end, I was like starting to feel a little treble fatigue from it. And that could, again, be part of my age. That could be part of it. But I didn't like want to yank them out of my ears like I did with the Medusa or the TD20, or a couple other sets that I can't think of right now because I probably forgot them on purpose. This set grew on me. And the more I listened to it, the more I appreciated it for what it is. And what it is just a deep V tuning. And the bass is phenomenal. It is just like so thick and satisfying, but still decays because, V, right? So it doesn't like bleed. The mids are a little bit more recessed than maybe some people will like. I didn't notice it with female vocals, but with like Maynard and a couple of the a couple of clean vocalists like Sleep Token, Vessel. Can't think of who else it was. Dude from Glass Animals. I don't know what his name is. But anyway, so male vocals seem to be a step back from the rest of the presentation. Female vocals were not. They were fine. And that didn't bother me either, really, because I understand when you do a V tuning, this is kind of what you get. I like V tunings. I do. I like realize that I like them probably more than I previously thought, because as I got to know these, as I listened to them more, the more I appreciated them, and I really liked the treble's ability to pull details. There were a couple of songs where they were pulling like really, really, really distant like synth notes that were just like kind of playing. And I wish I could remember the name of the song. If I can, I will. Let me bring up Qobuz, see if I can pinpoint that. But I was like, yep. I'm like, well, that's there. I may have noticed it before, but it certainly was not that noticeable. Certainly the chimes in Descending, 650 mark, come through like nobody's business. Let's see if I can find that, where it was. Was it Ascensionism? No. Might have been actually one of the Bleed From Within songs. Might have been Death Defined, where there's just a light, like, just sort of ethereal, like, keyboard playing in the background, and you're just like, oh, that's interesting. I hadn't noticed that before at all. I left on Blue Walsh. I jumped around. I just went back to Blue Walsh because it's such a great song for, sort of testing right and left channels and immersion and stuff like that. Yeah, these are quite immersive. Really quite immersive. And, they're an alloy. They're not heavy, though. They're super light. So here's the problem. That's why I'm jumping all over the place. Back to the comfort on these. You almost feel like it has a little costume jewelry sort of vibe to it, but it is an alloy shell. It's just super super light, and the faceplate, I guess you can love it or hate it. It's blingy, it's sparkly, but you almost want to say they feel like inexpensive, but at the same time they don't. They have a sneaky weight to them due to that alloy, but when they're in your ears, you notice nothing except for the contact that the ear tip is making. So, all right, sorry, back to that. I'm kind of loving on them. I can't help it. They sort of scratched an itch for me that other sets don't seem to do. One of them was the Zero Blue 2, which there's the graph of that one if you can see it. Just didn't quite really do it for me. Now, this is a massively different graph, obviously. If I can see if I can get them both here. Yeah, so massively different. Sub bass over mid bass, a little bit of a tuck on the Zero Blue 2, super gradual ear gain, and then fairly rolled off treble until you get to that peak that we all noticed at like 15 to 16K. That peak also exists here. I just feel like that for whatever reason it presents itself less obnoxiously, more complementary, and that could be due to the fact that it has some other peaks, so you're kind of, maybe your ears are sort of used to it at that point. You're used to a certain treble energy already, so that when it gets up into this 15 to 20K, you're not like feeling like it's out of place, where here it definitely does. Like, it just kind of jumps out at you. Here it blends in more. And I think, as much as they can be, the peaks are kind of purposeful. They're trying to like accentuate certain instruments and certain decays to give you that full immersion, and it does give you full immersion, full holographic immersion in the soundstage. So another plus, another thing. I can't recommend this to people who are treble sensitive, obviously. I'm not going to be like, oh, but the drivers are so good that, the drivers are really good. I feel like the drivers are well above average. But that doesn't mean that if you're treble sensitive, this isn't going to bug the shit out of you, because it's going to, right? But if you're not treble sensitive, or if you have some age-related hearing loss like I possibly or probably do at this point, that treble does not come across as fatiguing. It just comes across as being detailed. And really, it's really pretty cool, honestly. So yeah, I mean, those are my thoughts. I think that it's a solid set for $90, and I was actually not expecting to end up saying that when I first introduced myself to them. And then I had that little bit of bias from my accidental viewing of HBB's review of the sets that he got from the brand, which was very cursory and I don't think did them any favors. You cannot like these. I mean, I can say that. These might not be your speed, these might not be your style, but I think they perform up to their price point. And I think the cable is nice enough, even if the ear tips aren't great. The cable and the case are nice enough at the price point. They're just justifies the price. You've got nice accessories and a really, I think, a pretty dynamic experience in the sound signature. Like pretty darn fun. I'll give them the fun. They are fun. So yeah, but again, treble sensitive folks probably not gonna do the job for you. Just say that treble's good, but it could be a bit much. Could be for some. Now I'm gonna give some advice to EarAcousticAudio, because they were kind enough to send these to me, so I figure some feedback would be possibly helpful, hopefully helpful. I don't have any criticism, even though initially I was like not super happy with the shell, but I really don't. They're just nice and they're light, and I think the lightness sort of fooled me, but they're solid. They have different faceplates for different sets. This might be one of my least favorite, but that's okay. It's okay. It's fine. It's got a snake on it because it's Year of the Snake, right? That's pretty cool. But outside of maybe better ear tips, I would say the biggest thing, the biggest problem with this is there's too many sets that are too close. They're not differentiated enough in their names. So this is just the STA series, of which there are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Then they have the SPA series, SPA, which has like another 4 or 5. It's time, like, it's too much for people to keep track of. I mean, I'm the perfect example. I thought I had the STA Pro Max. No, I have the STA High-End Max. It's too confusing. We got to get the names. I understand it's hard to come up with names, especially when you've got a cool name like Silver Angel already. We got to get different names for the sets. And maybe not so many. Like, there's just a lot. You know, there's a lot of sets. That's like 11 or 12 sets, like, right out of the gate. And they're all very close in name. Now, they're differentiated by price, so that's one way to tell them apart. But for the average consumer, at least in North America, we want to be able to say, yeah, I've got this set, and not have to explain, oh, it's not this set, it's that set, or it's not the other set, it's this set. You know, which one of the STAs do you have? I think that's a problem. And I'm not saying I have a solution for it. You know, I'm not a naming, expert, but I think that some things can be done to differentiate better between the sets. And maybe don't release all 11 or 12 of them at the same time. Just, again, this is for what it's worth to my friends at EarAcousticAudio. Other than that, I mean, I can't really find much to complain about with this set. Their quality is really good, and the sound quality. Tuning may or may not be to your liking, but you can't deny the fact that there's good quality there. They're very clear. There's no muffledness. There's no muddiness. There's no, there's nothing to say that they're not worth their price based on their performance. I think they perform exceptionally well. And I would, if I had paid $90 for them and gotten past the initial, I would have been fine. But I think that's what we have to focus on with some of these things that come out that we're not familiar with, is getting that past that initial that feeling like and I don't feel like my friend Chris. I don't think that he got past that. I think he looked at them, he didn't like how they looked. I think he graphed them, he didn't like how they graphed, and he was just kind of like, and that's not helping the whole situation. Now, if you'd listened to him thoroughly and said, hey, I don't like these, that's fine. But I just don't feel like he gave them their just due. So I'm trying to. Yeah. And just wrapping it up, they may not be for everybody. Definitely not going to be for people that are treble sensitive, but for people who are treble heads or airheads, you could dig these pretty well, I think. Or if you're a fan of a deep V, like Natalie 007. Sorry, I had to say it again. Damn. Yeah, you might like them. That's all I got. Recommended, with the caveats that I outlined during this long and wandering review. Alright, that's going to do it for today. Be careful, be safe, be nice. I love y'all. Nothing but peace to you, and we'll see you soon.